If you're stuck between choosing Quicken Business and Quicken Personal and wondering if either one's actually better than the other in your finance management, you're not alone. I've used both, and I've got a lot to say because what sounds like a perfect two-in-one solution might come with a few surprises. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one fits your needs and how to avoid wasting money on the wrong plan. When I was deciding whether to stick with Quicken or to try something else, the first thing I did was exactly what most serious people do in researching. I went deep into the user reviews, not just the sugar-coated ones that Quicken puts on its homepage, but the real stuff. And, the negative stuff, the complaints, the praises, everything in between. And what I found about Quicken Home and Business wasn't all sunshine in general. One Quicken Home and Business review I came across was from a user who flat out said he's used Quicken for years, but thinks $75 per year is a ripoff. He was frustrated that Quicken switched from a one-time purchase to a yearly subscription. And honestly, I get that kind of thing. I remember the first time I got hit with a renewal charge instead of just like a one-time purchase on the plan. I wasn't thrilled with it. But here's what made me pause before calling this kind of thing a deal breaker. This issue, it's been talked about in forums and review threads, but it's not a huge thing anymore. The majority of people still renew in this year after year. Why? Because even after that yearly fee, it still saves hours of manual tracking and paperwork and all of your time, especially if you're using both the business and the personal tools under one roof. And on the flip side, many users here are testifying to the real edge offered by Quicken. There's this Quicken Business and Personal review from a guy who said he's used it for 20 years, both for personal and for business, and hasn't looked back. He loved how flexible the system is, especially with the reporting tools. Another user said it's been a game changer for keeping up with both personal and business expenses. He doesn't use all of the advanced features like taxes or investment tracking, but he appreciated the ease of connecting with his bank and tagging expenses. He even mentioned that it made tax time in general just smoother for his accountant. Has everything in one place. It's much easier to handle. Then there's this guy who said Quicken helped him keep track of finances across his personal and business life all in one spot without the headache of just switching between platforms. That right there, I think, is what sets it apart from most budgeting tools. So yeah, the price tag might rub some people the wrong way, but overall, real users, including myself, are sticking with it because it just works. But when I got into the features of it, I think that's where things really got interesting. So Quicken isn't just another budgeting app. It's more like a full-blown financial dashboard. So I started setting up my accounts, and trust me, it's not as intimidating as it sounds. You just tell Quicken where you bank and invest, it connects automatically and starts pulling in all your transactions. Suddenly you've got a full picture of all your money, and once everything's linked, it generates a spending report that shows where your money is. No more flipping through bank statements or guessing how much you spent last month. You get real numbers right there in front of you. Now, one of, I think, my favorite features of Quicken for home and business is the categorization tool. I think especially because it's just shockingly smart. If you swipe your debit card at Target or Kroger, Quicken usually knows what that is and assigns a category. So, for example, like groceries for Kroger, so or household supplies for this product. It does mess up from time to time, like when I bought pet food at the grocery store and it tagged it under food, but it lets you fix that if you need to, and it even remembers the correct category by moving forward and figuring out what to do next. Saves you a ton of time just in general once you have everything lined up. All right, then there's the bill and income reminders. This one actually changed the way that I think about my cash flow. Quicken lets you plug in your regular bills and your expected income, and then it forecasts your account balances. I'm not talking rough estimates. I mean, it shows you whether you've started to dip into overdraft territory weeks before it actually happens. It's like a financial GPS so that you don't get off track. Now, Quick Pay and Check Pay are tools that I didn't think I was going to use until I started using them. Quick Pay lets you pay bills online directly through Quicken itself. So It's really handy if you need to pay bills directly through there. And check pay, on the other hand, mails out a physical check on your behalf. Yeah, it actually tracks the payment too. So if you're not wondering if your rent check vanished in the mail, you can be sure if it's sent through here. Budgeting is where Quicken really helped me get into control. It's one thing to see where your money went, but another to actually plan ahead. I used the budget tool to map out my monthly spending targets, and now I actually know if I'm going off track or am I staying on track before I actually blow my budget. And if you're constantly on the move like me, the mobile app is a lifesaver. I can check my balances with it, I can set alerts, I can even categorize transactions while, just standing in line at Starbucks. It syncs perfectly with the desktop version, so everything is synced between them. They even added investment tools like real-time quotes and the ability to track stock options and even crypto. If you're a more advanced users, those features alone make a difference. I was surprised to see how much I started to rely on them over time. Okay, now I want to start breaking down the difference between Quicken Personal and Quicken Business. Quicken Personal is what I started with. It's solid for everyday stuff, budgeting, expense tracking, bank connections, even investments. It gave me a solid overview of my money. But as soon as I started freelancing, I kind of hit a wall there. So that's when I upgraded to Quicken Business. This version for business bookkeeping keeps your business income and expenses separate from your personal ones. The Quicken small business software sends you invoices, track payments, even helps you manage rental properties. I've used it to send invoices to clients, see who still owes me, and to run a profit and loss report so I can tell where I am, and I can do that with just one click. That alone saves hours every month. So if you're managing just your household, Quicken Personal is enough, but if you run a side hustle, own rentals, or you do freelance like me, Quicken small business bookkeeping software is absolutely worth the upgrade. Now, in general, is Quicken perfect? No, not quite. One thing I did notice is that it can feel a little bit dated in places. The interface isn't necessarily the slickest or most modern, but functionally, it gets the job done. The other thing that bugged me a bit is how long it took just to get the hang of all of the features. There's a bit of a learning curve, especially if you've never used financial software before. But after a few days of clicking around, watching some quick tutorials, it all clicked. Since then, it's been smooth sailing. So, what about the price? Is it a steal? Not exactly. But is it overpriced? Also, no. Quicken Business and Personal are reasonably priced for what they offer. If you're just tracking a household budget, Quicken Personal won't break the bank. And if you're managing a small business or rentals, Quicken Business software more than earns its keep. For me, it's like this. One missed late fee or forgotten invoice recovered, and Quicken's already paid for itself. Plus, they often run discounts and promos, and we've included a link in the description to help you check any of their current pricing and grab any of their available deals going on. If you're juggling both business and personal finances and you want one tool that can actually handle both, Quicken's probably the most complete option that I've used. I wouldn't say that it's perfect in any sense, but it does the job very well. So check the link in the description of this video to get started with our special discount and coupon.